Hey, my pretties, it's the Queen of Lions here. We're at episode 187 of Shadows and Pretties. So today I am going to be reviewing this movie that came out a couple years ago. Not couple, but like years ago actually. Yeah. Today we're going to be reviewing this movie that was directed by Steve Miner, and this movie is called Lake Placid. Now it's a horror comedy film. I've watched this movie as a kid. It's a pretty good movie that involves a crocodile, killing people. So because he's like the creature and he's like killing, a bunch of people from the lake when people go to the lake to swim in that. Surprisingly, the unique idea of what Lake Placid came to be is that it's based on the true story of a woman disappearing in a lake in 1933 and her body, amazingly preserved body, recovered by divers 30 years later, which it's kind of based on the true story, but not really based on the true story, if you think of that way. Now, this one's got pretty good actors in this one, like it's got Betty White, which unfortunately she passed. It's got, Bill Pullman, Bridget Fonda, Oliver Platt, which he's a pretty good Canadian-born actor. We got other actors too. And Lake Placid was produced by Fox 2000 Pictures, Phoenix Pictures, and Rocking Chair Productions. So, the Crocodile, which was about 32 long on Crocodile, was created by Stan Winston Studios. So some of the film scenes were shot in Vancouver and Shirley, British Columbia. 3 different lakes in British Columbia stood for the fictional Black Lake pretty much, such as Black Lake, the Shongan Lake, the Bunsen Lake, and the Hayward Lake. This one has pretty good music. Not gonna lie, this movie has really good music. And there is sequels to this one, such as, this is basically a crocodile movie, if you want to go out of your way and, say it's a crocodile movie. So, there's this one, the first one that came out in 1999, and then there's Lake Placid 2 that came out in 2007. Then Lake Placid 3 came out in 2010. And we also have the Lake Placid Legacy that came out in 2018. And Lake Placid, the final chapter, that came out in 2002. 12. I do apologize for that. I've never done any, crocodile horror movies, surprisingly. So I thought, let me go ahead and do the Lake Placid series. Now, I'm going to be reviewing the sequel in the next video because if I review them here, all of them here, it probably would be over an hour long because there's stuff that I wanted to go, through, what the story is about and all that. So, basically I'm going to go through with the plot of the movie for those who haven't watched the movie in a long time or for those who, have never seen it. But, I mainly do this for people who want a refresher of this story. So, this takes place in Aroostook County, Maine. A fish and a game officer, Walt Lawson, is scuba diving in Black Lake when he gets suddenly attacked and bitten in half by the unknown creature, aka a crocodile. So the next day, Sheriff Hank, his fish and his game officer, Jack Wells, the American Museum Natural History paleontologist Kelly Scott go to the lake to investigate the incident with mythology professor and crocodile enthusiast Hector Cry joining them. So Kelly and Hank's canoe is forcefully flipped over and they discovered a several human toe and a moose head. And finally Hank's deputy, Burke and his head bitten off by a creature on the lake. So the following day, as Hank and Hector argue, a large brown bear comes out and attacks them, but the saltwater crocodile leaps out of the water and snatches the animal, drags it to the lake, and kills the bear. So after finding Brooke's severed head, Jack, Kelly, and Hank witness Dorley's Bickerman, an elderly widow, living near a lake, feeding a blindfolded dairy cow towards the giant crocodile. She reveals that she had been feeding the reptile for years after the crocodile followed her husband Bernie home and eventually killed him 2 years ago. Afterwards, she was placed under house arrest for intentionally lying to the police about it. So Hector decides to take the deputy Sharon Gare on a trip to the helicopter where he unexpectedly lands it in the crocodile's territory. While he is scuba diving, he gets confronted by the creature, but he and Gare escape after distracting it with an inflatable raft. Later, Jack and Hank then have a plan to follow a Florida fish game and to kill the crocodile when they arrive. But Hector suggests instead that they should lure it out of the water, tranquilize it for unconsciousness. So Jack reluctantly accepts the proposal, and they use one of Bickerman's cattle dangled from the helicopter as bait. So after a few hours, the crocodile soon appears and rears up as it lunges at its prey. So Hector pulls up and loses the animal, but crashes the helicopter into the lake. So the crocodile then comes up on land and begins to attack Jack, Kelly, and the group. Kelly gets knocked into the lake by the crocodile's tail, but she manages to make it to the helicopter in time as the crocodile catches up to Kelly and attacks again. But it's trapped itself in the helicopter, so Jack grabs a gun and shoots it, but the firearm turns out to be a tranquilizing rifle. Hector then comes out of the water, and another crocodile attacks and bites him, but Hank blows it up with the grenade launcher. Soon after, Florida Fish and Game officers arrive, where they load the neutralized crocodile into a truck and take it to Portland, Maine, to figure out what to do with it. Eventually, this takes place 1 week later. Their Bickerman is then shown feeding breadcrumbs to many baby crocodiles, revealing the two adults were actually a mating pair. The surviving adult is later seen tied to the back of the flatbed truck, speeding down to an unknown location, and thus the movie ends. Now, I really have to say it's a pretty good crocodile movie, which, I mean, a lot of people really think that it was pretty, even though the sites has their critics and all that, of Betty White's delightful supporting turn may be worth the price of admission alone. But of course, Lake Placid is swamped with smarmy script and ability to deliver the creature feature mayhem. So, yeah. Like I said, I mean, there is like a lot of other crocodile movies, like horror ones. Like I know Lake Placid's one of them. It's got a series, but I do plan to review more crocodile movies in the future, like Rogue, which I plan to, review that one because that's an 2007 Australian independent horror film, which, I mean, I don't know when that will be the case or when I will be able to, review that movie. But that will be whenever I decide to do so. So, well, like I'm going to say right now, I mean, I honestly really like how this movie is like kind of based, somewhat based off of a woman disappearing in the lake in 1933 and then gets later found years later. I mean, I'm really glad that, that they had taken somewhat of an inspiration from that, which is definitely something because I never expected that to be the case. However, with the cow doing all that, the live cow is actually lifted in a colic sling by a crane, but of course the final edit of the film, the cow appears to be dangling from the helicopter, so they wouldn't use real animals in real life for these things, probably computer CGI, but, I'm not really sure. So, why the movie's name was called Lake Placid? Well, the movie's name, it turns out, it's not even the name of the lake featured in the movie, rather than it's set on a fictional lake in Maine named Black Lake. So the movie title refers to one of its early scenes when the sheriff says they want to call it Lake Placid, but that name was taken. So, yeah, fourth wall breaking. I mean, I'm pretty surprising. So, with that being the case, I mean, alligators are living, in like they mainly appear in southern eastern United States. However, they could not survive the winters in Maine. So the Lake Placid crocodile basically is a pretty big crocodile. And of course, we all know that crocodiles, well, saltwater crocodiles live near, when it comes to salt water, they swim in it. So they can exist in both fresh and salt water, whereas alligators prefer freshwater environments. So, yeah. Now, I know there are a couple movies. Now, I know there's like a Lake Placid versus Anaconda movie that came out 2005, with, well, 15. Sorry, I keep messing the dates up. I do apologize. Which I do plan to review the other Lake Placid movies sometime soon. I just don't know when that will be. But since Lake Placid's a pretty good movie, it's worth it. I recommend it. Go watch it. You will not be disappointed, because when I watched the movie as a kid, I honestly really liked it. Like, I liked the fact that, the crocodile was done a very well job. And I mean, it's an older movie. It's a 90s movie, for crying out loud. I mean, I did have a VHS copy of it, but that was like years ago. I think I might still have it, but I will have to double check. So, I mean, the dialogue in here is just sarcastic and funny no matter what's going on, which it keeps the light even with all the people getting eaten every now and then. So all the lines between Hector and the sheriff are especially noted throughout the movie, which is kind of why, the movie, has pretty funny in this case. So, like with that being the case and with that being said, I definitely gotta say, I mean, there are a lot of, there's a couple Lake Placid movies, such as, well, Lake Placid 2, the third one, the final chapter, Lake Placid versus Anaconda, and the Lake Placid Legacy, which I've seen, the second movie, but I also seen the third one. I did see bits and pieces of the fourth chapter, but didn't really get a chance to watch all of it, which that's something I'm going to have to note that down. Lake Placid versus Anaconda, I have not seen that one, or the Lake Placid Legacy, which I do plan to, get through that in the future. So, okay. With that being the case, that being said, I mean, the fact that, the acting was pretty well done. The actors did a great job for these movies. I really do say that, they did a pretty good job, with the crocodile, especially with the fight scenes and that. It's just really good. I mean, especially with, the whole, concept of, an alligator killing people in the lake. The fact that they actually took inspiration from the fact that, a woman disappeared in the lake in 1933, but then gets discovered many years later. I mean, it's solely based on it, but not really entirely, because Lake Placid's just a completely different story. Like, this one is involving, well, a crocodile killing people. So I definitely gotta say, I really do appreciate how well the acting is, and I do appreciate how well done that the whole movie was done, especially with, it's got a pretty good director. I mean, I like the second one as well as the third one, but I don't have an opinions on the other ones, because I probably only seen bits and pieces and not all of it. Especially the fight with the bear. I mean, that fight with the bear was pretty epic. I mean, I'm surprised I did not even cover this yet, and I finally was able to cover it, as of today. Well, like I said, I'll do the sequel. Maybe I'll put 2 and 3, in one video, well, one episode, maybe. But like I said, that's literally all depends on what I feel like doing in that. So, anyways, I recommend you go watch this movie if you haven't. You won't be disappointed. And as always, what did you guys think of this movie? If you enjoy it, feel free to leave me your thoughts down in the comments below. If you don't like it, that's fine. But, just say, this is just only my opinion. You are free to state your own thoughts and opinions on this movie. So, guess with that being said, what did you guys personally think of the movie? Do you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make the movie a lot better. Feel free to leave me your thoughts down in the comments below, as I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're new to my channel, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'll catch you all in the next episode. Peace out.